All right, welcome back to our Year of the Eucharist videos. As you know, August is all about receiving Holy Communion. In Mass, we're going through this Bread of Life discourse. And so you might think, like, receiving Holy Communion, and this video being purely practical. You probably learned this in the second grade. When you received your first Holy Communion, there was probably some discussion about how to receive Holy Communion, what to do with your hands, or if you're going to receive on the tongue, how to do that. But maybe there hasn't been a refresher in a couple years, a couple decades. And so sometimes we get bad habits sink in, and sometimes as we're going through this practical how to receive Holy Communion, you think like, why didn't anybody ever tell me that? Why didn't anybody ever say anything? So with this video, we hope to say something, how to receive Holy Communion as best as possible. And with that in mind, this isn't meant to shame anybody, right? It's not to make you feel like you're terrible, you're awful, or how did you not know that, or anything like that. This isn't meant to poke fun at people or to single anybody out. There might be a little bit of humor in it because it might be just a bit exaggerated from time to time. But hopefully it's helpful to know how to best receive the Holy Eucharist. And so without further ado, we'll have some help to help show how to receive Holy Communion, how not to receive Holy Communion, and some of the pitfalls that sometimes we run into. Thanks for tuning in. So the first one's kind of obvious. Probably don't bow so low. Also, if you're going to bow, keep your hands at the same spot, so every now and then people's hands drop away as they're bowing. If you're wearing long sleeves, especially ones with holes for their thumbs, please pull down your sleeves, that way we have a place to put the host in your hand. When you're coming up for Holy Communion, make sure you stand close enough away that the communion distributor can actually reach your hands or your mouth. Sometimes people have one hand occupied. Maybe it's with a child, maybe it's with a cane. Probably not best to receive the Eucharist with one hand. So if you only have one hand, it's ideal to receive the Eucharist directly on your tongue. Please don't be in a hurry when you're receiving Holy Communion. You know, we don't want to run out and risk the fact of Jesus falling on the ground. Sometimes when people come up, they show both hands, and you don't know which hand to put it in. So it's real simple just to receive Holy Communion with one hand on top of another instead of both hands together. When you're receiving Holy Communion, please make sure that you're actually receiving Holy Communion. We don't want to take Holy Communion. Here's the model way of receiving Holy Communion, of standing close enough that the distributor can easily give you Holy Communion, having your dominant hand on the bottom and your not dominant hand on top, receiving Holy Communion, and then with your dominant hand, placing the host in your mouth. Every now and then when people receive Holy Communion on the tongue, they bite, and that is probably not the best way, just to simply receive Holy Communion instead of using your teeth in the reception. Occasionally when people receive Holy Communion on the tongue, they don't open their mouths far enough. So please open your mouth and have your tongue out so that we can give you Holy Communion. Another common mishap of receiving Holy Communion on the tongue is not sticking your tongue out of your mouth. Sometimes people just open their mouth, but please put your tongue out so there's a place to place the Eucharist. Occasionally, it's hard to tell which place people want to receive Holy Communion. The hands are kind of out and the tongue's out, and so it creates a little bit of confusion. So please just be clear on how you would like to receive Holy Communion. Finally, here's the correct way of receiving Holy Communion on the tongue. It avoids the pitfalls that we discuss and allows a beautiful place to receive the body of our Lord Jesus Christ.